I've always felt different. I've always seen things, but when I tried to express them as a child, I was always told to ignore it.
There were people that I didn't know that came to me and said, I have this message that I keep getting that I have to deliver to you.
All of a sudden, out of the shadows, a homeless man just jumped right in front of me. And he said, I'm a soul just like you.
I love it.
I wanted to understand the universe and who and what we are and what are we doing here.
We're all part of this amazing soul wave tapping into each other.
This was a major life changer.
You are a light. You have helped me a ton. Thank you.
You've given me the courage to live more from my soul.
Millions of people are awakening. So wake up with Michele Meiché, the place to hear the best-selling authors and experts in the fields of cutting-edge self-help, personal growth, metaphysics, and spirituality. The soul path of awakening. Understand what living awake is.
Great to connect with all of you. If you're new here, welcome. It's good to connect with you. I hope you'll stick around and join the conversation. So I see people getting in. Hey, Laura, good to see you in the chat. So welcome. I'm Michele Meiché. This is Awakenings with Michele Meiché. It's more than a podcast or a live stream. It is a community that we've been traveling on the soul path for quite a while, and which is great. So we've got old friends and new friends and friends that are becoming closer friends. So you can always call in, get the link. You can call in or click on your icon that you're accessing the stream from. And if you have any questions, you could either call in or you could put them in the chat, whatever suits you. So for the second half of the program, if you're new, we have an awakened guest sometimes that comes on. We have an awakening conversation, a great conversation. Today we have shamanic practitioner Kerri Hummingbird, who's been on before. And actually, I've been on her podcast, and we usually have a really good conversation. She's going to be diving into the end of the year, the snake. We're ending this, you guys, this, I can't say it enough. Hey, Sunray, good to see you in the chat. Sunray, call in if you can. I want to know how your event went. You started doing tarot, which I think is perfect, that you're actualizing your gifts. That was, and by the way, okay, check in the description box for socials. If you happen to be listening to the archives or the replay, please subscribe, share the episode, the podcast episode. It'll be edited probably later today because I have a little more time. I usually do it either after the stream or on Fridays. And also it'd be great if you would also subscribe to Awakenings with Michele Meiché podcast on YouTube. We have a lot of archives there, replays, and we have some awakening conversations, and we're starting to do more there and do more line streams. So just want to welcome everyone. I just got so I'm a little late actually, as I was on a longer walk. Add me for readings. Hey. I love that. What are you saying? I love that. Well, call in. I had to get my green tea matcha. And I wanted to share a couple of things. Hey, Sunray, did you call in? I want to hear from you. I want to share a couple of things. One thing, that a message from Three Eye Atlas, connecting into that vibrational frequency, that beingness, right? That consciousness, that transmitter, that conduit. It's just like any other planet or us. We are vibrating to and transmitting, emitting a signal that comes through us and manifests as us. That's what sacred geometry is. That's what numerology is. It shows the vibrational glitch. What happened? Okay, you can call back in, or I'll set you in, Sunray, in the chat. So we are this frequency that, or really complex of frequencies, vibrational frequencies that create a certain resonance or harmony, and hopefully more resonance and coherence and dissonance within ourselves, our beingness, and our life. And one of the messages that was coming through, I'm starting to go through the 11 messages that I received, was, and let's do it now. Take a breath in. And body. And it might help you to breathe in and bring your shoulders up towards your ears. And then just as you breathe out, almost like a sigh of relief, like, but you don't have to make that sigh noise, but just the taking in. We are so focused on putting out and doing and reaching that we're missing the subtler frequency shifts that are happening, not just cosmologically in the universe, but also the shifting within our own soul design or soul matrix, right? Our own grid, if you will, our own electromagnetic grid setup. And one of the ways this can also happen is thinking too much, and that's the operative word, thinking too much that we know what we're meant to do. We're always formulating. The more we can get the idea that the denser physical us, what is consciousness, but it's an ego, it's a container, it's like a marionette, right? It's yes, it's obviously alive, and it's an amazing consciousness container that is consciousness itself, but it's not the animating life force energy. It's not, it has life force energy. We have this source, this energy that's infinite, but we also gather and connect into this infinite life source energy, which is God. That's why it's called metaphysically God, or the all that is. So we're living, we're breathing it, we're in it. It's like we're in the water, the womb, the web of it. We're in it, but we are it, and we're creating it. And I saw something interesting the other day that somebody had posted, and this is such an old, moldy narrative I never bought into. That we're in this karmic loop and that we're here, it's like a prison on earth. That is absolutely false. I'd call anybody out on it. That's like such a sci-fi fantasy. Yes, it's difficult here, but we come here to incarnate, to have this kind of experience in contrast, resonance, dissonance, polarity, duality. This is the only place that we live this out, right? And what does become a karmic loop, if you want to call it that, of reincarnating is our desire. In fact, the first near-death experience I had, I wasn't meant to totally go because I met my guides and my other planetary family and teacher. But I was like, I'm not, this is too much. I said I would do it, but no, But what got me here with my darn Taurus moon was hovering over, I could see friends and family and neighbors brought me so many goodies. My hospital room, because I was in ICU and I was packed in ice, I was isolated, and they thought, dying, which I did cross over for a bit, but floated around. But I saw it was like a combination of Toys R Us, FAO Schwartz, and Santa Claus's village. I had so many toys and goodies and flowers. I mean, I'm not kidding. When I looked down or around and I saw all these, I'd already come out of crossing over, but I was kind of in limbo. And I thought, oh, maybe I do want it. My 4-year-old ego, my human part of me was like, oh, maybe I'll stick around and play with some of the toys. I wish someone had taken, and maybe someone did somewhere, one of my parents, but I wish I had kept a picture of that. I mean, you cannot even imagine. And I thought, oh, wow, if this is what life is going to be like, not. So what gets us back, and this is why sometimes I'll go through experiences, and sometimes I'll, like you want to say, well, I wish I could do that again, or I'll say, no, I don't need that. So it's our desire body. It's the astral part of us. And obviously, if we're not meant to reincarnate, we won't. We're subsumed into the all that is, and other parts of us go to other dimensional planetary experiences. Trust me, Earth plane is actually easy. I've had situations in my life where I was completely not like open, like complete consciousness round the clock, 24 hours. I had like a few months of that. And thank God I had a good holistic medical doctor, Dr. Gruen, shout out to him, who was also a sensitive. He's a regular doctor, but also holistic and very intuitive. And so he knew what I was going through. It was a type of awakening, kind of a deeper, it was after a subsequent, a third or fourth Kundalini opening and awakening. But I was like, oh my God, I want to be, because that's what, when we cross over, we're completely aware and conscious all the time. I mean, it's different because it's not coming through eyes and ears, and we're not, but the idea to sleep or check out and then roam around or go back into the all that is there's a rest period on the earth plane. Other dimensions, you're just complete consciousness, right? You're just complete awareness. So I was having that experience in my body. So one of the other things that 3i Atlas was saying is this: it's time really now, which I'm so glad Sunray will be sharing a bit of what he's going through. I can't say it enough. Call in here, call into podcast, it doesn't have to be mine. Reach out, say your opinion. When you are vocalizing, you're making your emanation, your configuration of you, the transmitter, transponder you're making your signal stronger about what you're about. And so our signal, I didn't realize how important, because if you if you watch my video it's on Soul Awakening, I did put it on Patreon. It's on Patreon. It's on Awakenings with Michele Meiché podcast on YouTube. Then some people asked me to put it on Soul Insights and Tarot. So there's a playlist where I talk about, where I got the message from them about the key of G and note of C, which it's the higher. It's not, guys, it's not. We had Nelson. I had a couple other, Nelson Marquez, who was on the podcast, amazing healing artist and musician, and his wife, Grace. Some of you have done transmissions and sessions with us, and we're going to be doing Wakeful Dreaming and Anima Mundi. If you're interested in that, that's coming up on the 14th of this month, or 13th, Saturday. If you're in the LA area, I'm back here for a bit and doing some community stuff. But it's the higher, get this, it's not, because I was thinking it can be, but because it's the key of G, note of C, it's actually the upper chakras or transpersonal chakras. So it's that natural pause point. It starts at the 5th chakra and it goes into that natural pause point, that portal that's above the crown chakra, like a few, 3-4 feet above the crown chakra. So it's anchoring us. That's why when you're connecting into 3i Atlas, you feel your heart opening and an expansion, like from your shoulders up. You feel it through your whole body, that you feel this lightening up. It's connecting us through our Merkaba into our light body. So we're becoming less dense right now. And a lot of you I know are already feeling it, that you're feeling less and less dense. That frequency of 3i Atlas is helping us get out of over density, right? So it's very, it's very powerful. So spend some time, connecting, speaking out, speaking your truth, singing, toning. I'm going to be talking more about the transmissions and what I receive from this interstellar beingness, this frequency of interconnectedness and a higher octave of love. But love, which is interesting, beyond just kind of human, I like you, I love you, romantic, which that's all great too. I like that. But it's more about the right living, right livelihood. And in metaphysics and esoteric doctrine, right livelihood and right relationship, it's not about right or wrong. It's about alignment. What's right for me at a particular time, or you, or the world. So we're getting this ping, and it's coming in different forms. 3i Atlas is just one conduit from that. And that ping is we're getting a message through our higher self. But these kinds of interstellar connections or other phenomenon that's happening, whether you're seeing light ships or whatever you're experiencing, is just here, is helping to support what your higher self is already directing you to do. So it's kind of getting our attention, but it is helping on a vibrational frequency level. It's helping through the subtle energy in the etheric plane, right? It's literally helping in our electromagnetic grid. So it's easier to shift when because we have the transmutation first. Even if you look at our life on a regular basis, like let's say mental, emotional, from a psychological development point of view, we first have the changes energetically. We have a sensing, a feeling. Something happens energetically to us. We start getting hormones, right? You go through hormones. Well, you don't think, oh, hormones are happening or coming. No, first you start having, when you're going from, that age range, you kind of start having different feelings, different thoughts. You're not a little kid anymore. You're changing. You got different, stuff starts happening. And then you get the mental construct of what's going on. Then you get, oh, it's this, it's that, or I feel this, I think this now, I've changed. So it's really important that everybody starts connecting in more to their sensing, feeling nature, and I have some free meditations you can download, again, for free on soulplayground.org, especially the alignment meditation that helps you expand into the higher self and feel that aspect and part of you so that you can consciously start connecting into allowing the subsuming of the personality ego construct so that the soul can come through more. So it's a very powerful time. And 3i Atlas is saying, look, you have time. I mean, I can't imagine, I am still on that frequency. I mean, I know I won't go back. I'm just getting so much done and creating so much and just really answering my soul call even more. And it's like, I'm not thinking about how much I have to do and what I'm doing. I'm just being in the moment and sometimes getting more support for it, which is also great. But this is the time. It's very critical. This next year coming up, these huge changes of people stepping in. And 3i Atlas is saying, get out of the extremes of polarity, which my guides have been saying that as well. Get out of the fight. So create, share, create, soul express, use your creative expression, gather with others, bring the new systems, the new products, the new things. Get out of the fight, because the fight is going to go on for a while of the old and the new, however that's manifesting, in different areas of life, whether politics or government or health care or whatever, or this or that. But that's not where the juice is. That's ending, that's dissolving, that's morphing, that's getting edited. What will be supported universally is new forms that are more aligned to this higher vibrational octave. So anyway, I hope that kind of made some sense. I'd love to hear from you, whether calling in or in the chat. We've got our, so let's see, Shadahi, welcome everyone in the chat. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat or call in. Sunray, hello. I see
Hello,
you.
Michelle.
Hello. How did it go?
Oh my God, it went amazing, incredible. I could not have asked for a better opportunity, B, an amazing amount of individuals that I was able to connect with. I really went in with no expectations. Just kind of like, this is my first time doing this. We'll just see how this goes. And it was, affirmative. Like, I had people telling me, this is your calling, you need to do this. So
yeah,
it was just really, it was kind of like when we were doing that, when you were saying, let's actually just take a deep breath right now, and how that moment it was, that helped me connect to that moment again. And yeah, it just and then ever since then, and then with my move, all these things are coming to the surface. Oh my God, it's not fun. even though it is fun.
Right. I know, we have to remember the soul likes this. I hear you. I go through some things and I'm like, why is this happening, or what's going on? And then it's like,
Yes.
I got to remember that, from a different perspective of this is experience, expression. Let's create a problem and uncreate it or fix it,
Yes. And I recently had to reach out to my friend Brianne Huggins. She's actually the one who introduced me to you.
I was going to say that name sounded familiar. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
let
all
her know I
these years
said
ago.
hello. Oh.
Yes, yeah, I'll let her know. And yeah, it was like yesterday was probably a tough moment for me, because I'm just realizing a lot, and relationships are taking a huge shift right now. I'm like, not only are people, I think it's because people are lifting off and stepping into a new dimensional frequency and awareness, and aligning more with their gifts and aligning with that awareness that is already there, because everyone has their gift. Everyone has something that they're sharing with the world. Sometimes we're not aware of what we're sharing or what we're meant to share, but we still have it in our hands. I think there's so much going on in our world right now, and there's a lot of wants and needs that sometimes we forget. So I think also coming back to that center and taking a deep breath and practicing those certain things that those tools that we've been practicing for a while, now we have to start using them, because we don't have no choice. It's going to get even more gunkier. I think December is going to be probably the gunkiest of this year, but it's going to be necessary, kind of like a lotus flower blooming through the gunk of the deep murky waters in order to unveil itself.
Yeah, I would say though the gunk. Yes, I agree. However, I feel like there's a lot of not gunky. It depends where you look.
Right.
Yeah,
True.
it's like with the
It's your
lotus.
perspective, right?
Yeah, it's like the lotus. Yeah, you could notice that in the water there's all this mud, and then there's So one of the things, and I've been imploring people, even people that I work with, I'm like, and I've been saying this, started around 2011 and definitely 2018. Between 2018 and 2020, I've been really just imploring people, because also what's going to happen, see, it's not just, you'll get left behind. Yeah, that's part of it. And I think for people, and I think it is free, or you have to just put your email for Patreon. I did deep dives into this from the guides and also the numerology cycle, the energetic cycle we're in this year, which is all about, and Kerri, when she comes on, our guest, she's going to talk about the year of the snake. Yeah. Well, I said grief, endings, tragedy. It's going to bring all of that up, and loss, betrayal, the idea of forgiveness, and losing relationships and certain relationships. And part of that is, yes, there's an energetic component with this kind of a quickening energy. But if I can really stress this, it's coming from your soul or higher self that is going to start it has started already, because some of my clients have started feeling it, some not yet, and they're not just clients, other people that are around me, they're not kind of getting it. It's like, we did come here, it's like, so that ego part of us, yes, is obviously needed and necessary, that aspect to interface, but we have a soul. So I know all of us have done this. I know sometimes I've put off things, especially years and years ago, and then all of a sudden at the end, it's like, here's an example, like when you're in school and you got a test coming up and you didn't study at all, and then that night you've got this pressure. So people, this is what I'm trying to tell people, you're going to start feeling this pressure coming from your soul through your higher self, why didn't you do this? You got to go now.
Oh no, that's what I'm feeling this December.
So but you're answering it, but what's happening is the people that aren't answering it are going to be caught in the muck. It's going to be extremely difficult the next 3 to 5 years. Well, not really. That's another thing. That's kind of like this spiritual thing I want to.
Is that the spiritual bypass?
Well, it's a spiritual naivete. Like sometimes because we are in the land of duality also. I mean, we have a dual nature, but in the infinite awareness and consciousness of the all that is, there isn't duality. But it is very possible to make mistakes that you don't need to make. Yes, some mistakes are needed and necessary. We're learning. And in fact, in the I Ching, it says you're not meant to know lessons before you learn them. However, just like we can live up to our potential, we cannot live up to our potential. So I really want to squash that as much as possible, because people say, well, if I meant to do it, it'll happen. No, that's why we're here on the planet, is to make it happen, not just channel. Like if I get the messages from Three Eye Atlas, I'm getting all this information. If I don't put it in the video or then I'm not doing my part. If I don't, so
I see what you're saying. I think I was more thinking about like other people, like, because there's only so much you can do to help other individuals
no, I agree with you.
realize.
No, and I'm not slamming you. It's just I hear this so much from people, and it's such a cop out. It's not you. I hear it from, like over the years, people I've worked with, and then I hear it from some spiritual teachers, and I just and I'm like, no, it's possible not. In my life, I've not lived up to my potential in certain areas, or I slacked, or I just choked or didn't do what I was supposed to do or really wanted to do. And so that's part of making peace. Obviously, when we're crossing over, when we're dying, we have to make peace. Well, I could have done this, but I didn't, or whatever. There's always going to be some things. But we have to stop telling each other that, because it's a real excuse to not feel the fear and do it anyway, or get the support.
That's interesting. This was one of the things I was speaking about with Bree yesterday when I was having my little mental breakdown. We were talking about like a stove, like what's on the back burner, what's on the front. And I was telling her, well, I don't want to have my last breath or get to the end of this and say, oh, I didn't focus on love, or I didn't focus on this, or I didn't focus on that. I want to be content and happy with where I'm at as I'm taking my last breath, or as I'm crossing over.
Beautiful.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have different I think that's great. But see, you're feeling that. And to be honest, I've had to say that to myself. If I hadn't had that connection with Three Eye Atlas, I was kind of on my last little breath of things. I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this anymore, or no, do I want to? Oh yeah. On some level.
Yeah, because you're human. We're all human.
Yeah, just because also, and I see so much like fluffy stuff out there that's kind of putting people in just like, not just.
Well, this is the Three Eye Atlas is the catalyst to this change, and it's actually going to help shift people's frequency.
Well, it gives you Three Eye Atlas gives you what you need, and it opens you to a certain level that now, because I was in this kind of phase of things getting undone or unaligned, and then having to like wrap up certain things, or just leave certain things, or take on certain things. And so it was like, okay, so I'm in this, like, what is the thing? So this coming through gave me that focus and that energy again to work on some of the things that I was given to develop by my guides, on top of everything else. I still love what I do, and I would keep doing that. But there was this other stuff that was coming in, and I'm like, oh my God, there's no way how am I supposed to do this now? And which is first, and how is it happening? So it's just such an energetic shift. It's the octave that you're operating on is so based on timing and getting out of that construct. But it's also energetic of having the focus, the energy. And it's going to be different for different people, depending on what it is that you're needing and what you're needing to feel and how you're needing to feel connected to. But it definitely shifted something for me. I mean, I'm more me in a way that I can't even describe, that a way that is so familiar and open.
Yes.
Right? Because Sunray, we get,
oh my God,
all of us, we get dented. We go through things in life,
yes,
and you get through it. But it's like, I call them auric dings. It dings you, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Ding.
We get scars on our skin, bumps on our car, but the engine still runs and the heart still beats.
Yeah. And so you need something that comes in that goes, it's just an energetic shot of some sort and direction, but whatever it is that you need. But I feel like that's happening for a lot of people right now. And it sounds like that's happening with you as well.
Yes, yeah, and I think I like moving out of the city finally.
You think it's helpful?
Oh my gosh, I feel actually a lot more of myself in the city because I'm not focusing on people, the things, the frequencies around me. Like I can step out where it's quiet, and I'm finding this balance. But curious to know what your thoughts are on this. How do you help others around you if you're at a awareness of a frequency or frequency awareness, helping them understand what to do to help them?
Well, and that's been a lot. It's in coming in as a small child, with this, I've always kind of seen this or known more. Even my parents would say, especially my dad, "Oh my God, Michele, you just know so much more. You're so wise," or "I don't know what to tell you because, what are you seeing?" I think that's where deep love and compassion comes in, and to go back to the metaphysical point of view, the spiritual point of they're on their path. Now that doesn't say I don't try to help, and I did more of that, sticking my nose in things back in the day, but just ultimately it always goes back to us just seeing where people are really at. I think we get into a little bit of trouble is when we see where they're at, but we want to change them to be more where we're at. So if I know someone has a certain limitation, unless it's workable and we're talking it through and they want to grow and change, or it's meant to be on their path, it's just recognizing what certain situations and relationships and circumstances are good for. What are they really for? It's like if you have a great friend, or you're working with a colleague that let's say a creative partner or something in your life, and then you're attracted to them, it's like, but they're so anti everything that you do, and they're not, you know what I mean? And you have to prove yourself, like, "Oh, you should believe in this," or they're like, "Oh, you just live in this magical world," and then you realize that's not going to work. But then you're like, "Well, but I can see their light." So after a few of those, Sunray, you realize just let's have them do your website and move on.
Okay. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Yes, I see what you're saying.
It's discernment. It's spiritual discernment. It's moving from projection into perception, so that you're honoring someone or their gifts, but whether it's someone doing your business, that is maybe that's not what they're really good at, or that's not what they're in the life for. So you kind of just start coming from that more expanded, I think, point of view.
Okay.
And then if people ask or want help or whatever, you're there if you have those gifts.
Okay.
But you don't require that, because some people, it's not part of their path.
Right.
Also,
it makes sense,
right?
because it's like trying to tell a 2-year-old that they need to clock in for work and start sending emails. Like, just because you're an adult and you're doing those things, it's like they're on a different, but they're still growing.
In the wise words of my dad years and years ago, when I was open, well, they did everything I went through, everything I learned, every workshop, this book, that book, I got training in this.
Papa Michele.
Yeah. And then my dad, one time I said, "Well, Dad, why aren't you into he goes, "Michele, some people just don't want to hear about this. They don't want to do this." I said, "Oh, I guess so." Yeah. I guess you'd rather
that makes sense.
football.
Actually, that is some wise. That is so funny. It's not that complicated. It's actually quite simple,
No. And he would listen later on. Is like he. That's how I kind of knew he was crossing over, because and I would tease him. I'm like, because he got very chatty about deeper things.
Oh, they always do.
Yeah, they do. And he would talk more. Oh, wait, don't hang up. I got to. Let me ask you this. Or the other day I was walking and this is what I thought.
Oh, wow.
And I would tease him. I go, oh, now I'm getting a little more philosophical here.
Oh, that's interesting. That's almost comforting knowing that as we cross over, that something else comes in, or higher power comes in and takes over,
Yeah.
so that our ego is kind of like not there and present, trying to hold on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Wow. 3A Atlas is coming closer to us.
Yeah.
December 19th, right before the solstice.
Yeah. That's going to be amazing time. I would say between the 15th and the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Is that what you're feeling?
Oh, yeah. That whole time period
is okay.
Right. And there's that Sagittarius. It's got the frequency, even though because it moved through or from the direction of the galactic center. Yes, which is Sagittarius. So it's bringing that, frequency in of expansion and, higher thought processes and, spirituality or spiritual essence, even religion to some degree. So it's bringing in kind of that higher mind, also, kind of thinking. So,
wow.
So anyway, any other questions? Because
so
I do
cool.
see Kerri in the.
Absolutely.
Now, are you going to do more of this, Sunray?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
I'm hoping.
Cool.
I'm hoping to do more. I'm a part of the rotation of tarot readers for the Ecstatic Dance in Portland. So they reached out to me after I initially reached out a while ago for a separate event, and so that they had remembered I wanted to do this. So thankfully, I provide them with a small percentage back of what I earn to keep the community alive. But it feels really good. There's a lot of people in that community that I resonate with and that understand kind of the language that I speak outside of work.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you're zapping him at work with your frequency, whether you do
zapping
them. They're
They're like little flies.
They're getting the zap. They're getting the ping. They're getting on the inner plane and in the subconscious.
Wow.
But anyway, people can reach you if they want to connect with you.
Yes, on Instagram right now, 5D Sunray, 5D Sunray.
5D Sunray.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Michele, so much for connecting with you. I'm looking forward to Christy and your inspired conversation and seeing what will come from that.
Yeah.
Big hug.
Too. Big hug. Bye.
Bye.
So we've got with us Kerri Hummingbird. I'm really excited to have her back, shamanic practitioner. I'll let her share a little bit about what she does. And we'll just take it from there. Welcome, Kerri. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's really great. I just saw that you were coming on. I'm like, yay. Okay, this is going to be fun.
It's exciting. Thank you for the invitation.
So let everyone, because it will be in the description box of the podcast, but what I was told is some people just like to also hear, so they can just connect with the person's, socials or website while they're listening. And then also some people are apparently listening while they're driving or running or walking or doing something or working out. And they've said, well, if you could just say the person how to get in touch with them, because I don't want to scroll to the, to read the description, episode description. So with that said, TMI, let's know a little bit about you or how people can connect with you also. And Kerri, you're right. You're right, Sunray, in the chat. Kerri, Kerri Hummingbird.
Yeah. So I'm Kerri Hummingbird, and I'm a medicine woman and a mother and a mentor and a messenger. And I've been creating this beautiful community called Inner Medicine Community, which is really all about finding your inner medicine in the world that is projected outside of you, knowing that that is a reflection of what's going on inside of you, that your reticular activating system is showing you exactly what your soul needs to see in order to evolve its consciousness, in order to have these experiences we came here to have. And so we call it inner medicine. And it is indigenous. It's indigenous wisdom. We We are trained and supported by several indigenous lineages, including the Caro Nation in the Andes Mountains, the ones who wear all the little rainbow ponchos, and they're just delightful beings of Munai and Aini, which is unconditional love and also right relationship with life. And we're also trained by the Huixatica people in Mexico, who Carlos Castaneda actually studied with. So it's similar kind of training in walking the beauty way and really living in harmony with earth.
Yeah, I love that
And
beauty way.
and the Shipipo, for all those people who love plant medicine, we're initiated by the Shipipo. We've worked with several plant dietas, and in an ongoing shamanic mentorship there as well. And so I've had a lot of trainings. I started off my initiations with Heather Ashamara, who is a protege of Don Miguel Ruiz, which is Toltec wisdom. So those of you who have read the Four Agreements, everything we do is based and steeped in the Four Agreements and the Fifth Agreement, which is discernment. And so what you're talking about today, a lot I've heard you talking about, is really about discernment. It's how do we come into right relationship with life? Because we've been living in so many fantasies. So before I go way off into whatever I want to say, so if people are interested in what I have to offer, my website is kerrihummingbird.com. That's Kerri Hummingbird.com. And you'll also see that I have a podcast called Soul Nectar Show. Michelle's been on my podcast.
I've been on there. And I said, last time I was on with you there, I remember I picked up, I thought, oh, you're going to be doing more talking, and I could see the talking stick, and I'm like, something with groups or community. Now, did you have that when I was on your podcast, Soul Nectar, right?
Yeah.
Had you started that yet?
I have been doing it in different ways, but I would say, speaking of it, I actually had an experience a few weeks ago. I mean, I've had experiences of the talking stick. So for people who don't know what the talking stick is, it's really like, it's an indigenous practice where when there is a decision to be made in the tribe, every single person gets an opportunity to speak their piece about it. They get to say what's on their heart about it. They get to express their point of view, and everybody else listens while that person is talking. And then, of course, because everybody gets a chance to express their point of view, it's like you're able to listen. And then when your chance to speak, you get to speak. And then the elders listen and consider everything that's been shared, plus what Great Spirit is saying to them. And then they make a decision. And now it's more likely that everybody will go along with that decision, because everybody has had input. Everybody has had a say. And, we're bringing that. And that to me is conflict, diplomacy, and peace, which is the 6 gene key for those of you who like gene keys. We also play with gene keys in our inner medicine community. And the gene keys, my pearl.
I'd love you to talk about that, because I read the book, and of course I'm into human design, which there's an overlap with that as well, with the keys.
Yeah, there is. There's a total overlap. It's the gates in human design. And when you study both, there's so much to be revealed. That's what I love about it. I feel like the next era that we're going into is really understanding ourselves, discovering ourselves, understanding our design, what we came here to learn, and understanding our life's experiences through looking at that design. And it puts a map to everything. And in shamanism, we really love maps. We really want to have a map to show us the landscape. Like, what is the context here? And when we have the map, it's much easier to navigate through our life's experiences. It's much easier to navigate through those challenges. And so when I look at my Gene Keys chart and I see that my pearl, which is my greatest gift to, in this lifetime, to humanity, to the planet, is the pearl of conflict, diplomacy, and peace. Well, that's why stuff happens in my life that is very, high conflict, that in my family system, for example, and recently in this experience I had in a spiritual community where I was doing some personal growth work. And it was like, wow, if you've ever had that feeling of being like on the firing range where everyone's like got, their hot potatoes flinging at you.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like,
Oh,
it's
God.
your fault. Blame, blame, blame. And it's just like this ping pong ball of like, whose fault is it? And they've all decided collectively that it's yours. And you're sitting there like receiving all of their, input. That's not the position I usually like to be in diplomacy situations. I prefer to be the negotiator. I don't really prefer to have all the guns aimed at me directly, especially as a highly sensitive person. It's like really extreme to have that experience. And I feel like, we're all getting our lessons at this time, but I think what's important to know is that we're working with Sachamama, which is the serpent, and she's called Sachamama in South American shamanic culture. And she's a very supportive ally in helping us to shed the layers of what is really blocking us from living our most full expressed life. And sometimes those layers you can identify easily because you're like, well, I know that I need to release this because I don't like it. Okay, well, that's easy, right?
Right.
But like, what if you're getting something from it?
Yeah. Well, that's a really, Kerri, we have in one of the disciplines or types of hypnotherapy I studied, particularly the medical, that's one of the questions. You're just hitting on something so important is, what are you losing from something by doing to, but what are you gaining? Because it's very hard to shift or change something, even a condition or a certain disease, or back pain or whatever, if it's, highly psychosomatic in nature, when you're getting a payoff.
Yeah. And when you're in, and so my, my kind of payoff that in my life has really caused me to go against myself is the desire to belong. And I feel like many human beings can really understand what this desire to belong.
Yeah. Metaphysically, that's one of the buttons that we have. It comes from that idea of that we are separate.
Yeah. And
what
it's
we call
like,
the original blessing, but it's a really, it turned into, for manipulation, that separation, the idea that we're separate. So yeah, I think so many of us have that to a degree, or not belonging in the group, which it sounds like by what you're sharing, that little sucker, that button got triggered.
It did. And alongside, I'm a Cancer. So I'm a Cancer sun.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is about like, there's nothing I love more than to help people feel safe and secure and nurtured and loved and held and like, their mother child. It's like, that's my jam. I just have always loved being a hostess. I always have loved, hosting people and making sure everyone's having a good time and feeling wanted and seen and heard. And this is why I'm a mentor, right? That's why I'm in the spot I'm in. But if I'm not careful, this is what I saw. I witnessed I can create a situation. And luckily this was not in my community. I have really good boundaries in my community, but just strangely enough, it like snuck up on me. I didn't see that I had created a paradigm where, people were coming to my house. Let's say I'm an Indigenous woman and they're coming to my house now to like support me in my dreams and to help me out with what things I need. Right. So they're coming over to my house and I'm like making them food, putting on nice music. They're all
Now, was this happening actually? They were coming over?
No, this is like a metaphysical
metaphor. Okay.
So like metaphysically coming to my house, they're supposed to be helping me with my dreams. But what's actually happening is that I'm making them food. I'm putting on the music. They're sitting on the couches. They're all having great conversation. They're exploring themselves. Everybody's really, really happy and doing great. But like none of my stuff's getting done. I'm doing it. Like I'm sweeping the floors while they're all sitting there. I'm doing the dishes. I'm doing it all. And I was like, it took me a long time to realize that that's what was going on. And I was like, I need to take a little rest I need to reset just for a couple of weeks, like at least a week. I just need to reset. And so I took my energy out. And what happens with empaths take their energy out, but people have been using that energy is a reaction, a very highly negative reaction. And that's what happened. And because I had an altar for this thing and I was all connected with it, it was so amplified for me that it was painful, like emotionally, mentally, psychologically, psychically, body. And then at the end of 10 days of that drama, I literally fell and broke my left kneecap.
Ooh. Now, did you look up the meaning of that? I can share with you.
Well,
You know.
I feel like it's, what I experienced was like my friend who's an astrologer was like, let's take a look at your chart. And she's like,
Saturn
was crossing your north node of destiny.
Oh,
interesting. Could be
powerful.
some karmic ties here leaving your body. And we know that, that the bones hold the deepest patterns. The bones hold the ancestral patterns, the past life patterns, like everything that your soul, right, has like really struggled with. The bones is in the densest part of you, bones and teeth. So yeah, it's like it needed to be broken, like once and for all. And sometimes there's great practices for doing this gracefully. And if I had slowed down long enough, I would have applied one of these. There's like the clacking sticks in shamanism where you can clack these sticks together and like release the energy using the sticks. But no, I broke it with my left kneecap.
Sometimes that's the way too. I don't know, sometimes that's the way, the soul self chooses. But, as you're talking, the other day, I think it might have been a week or two, maybe a week ago, I was feeling this shift. Kerri, everything I touched was breaking. It was like for 2 weeks. I went to get some light bulbs in the cabinet, and I took everything out, and then all of a sudden there must have been one tucked in the container they were in a certain way, and it crashed. I mean, I can go on. It was just all these, and
everything
it was all
needed to break.
The breaking, yeah. And when that happens, I would say, well, good that it's that and not me. Good that I'm not jammed in the car. Good that it's going. But I realized, I thought, okay, this has to break. This is the energy is breaking up. Something is just breaking up. And let me ask you, when it happened to you, did you notice anything right before? Did you feel any kind of dizzy, disorientation or spacey or stretched out a little?
I mean, as I mentioned, like it's almost like I had an intensified review of my life's most toxic patterns, like within a 10-day period. And it was amplified by the energy of this altar and this that I had set up for this community. And it was just so amplified that it was all I could do I couldn't think about anything else. I literally could get no relief from it. And I had just actually had a really good session with my husband and our coaches, so we come to some decisions about how to move forward with some of the things because there was some impact. And then I was like, well, I said to my husband, I said, the roses on the Guadalupe altar, they have been, really limp for days. We need to go replace those. Because I keep a Guadalupe altar to the goddess Tenoncine is her actual name. And I was like, we need to go get those. Like we can run to Costco. It's closing in 30 minutes. So we rush over there, and I get in the store, and he's being really slow. Like I'm kind of annoyed. Like, why are you walking so slow? Like I'm trying to
with it.
Get those dang roses. Like, it's your ass moving. And he's just looking at his phone. I don't know what the heck. So I was annoyed, because he wasn't moving fast enough. And I was wearing I was wearing these little earthing shoes, which have like a little metal copper thing on the bottom. And I think I slipped. My pants might have been a little too long. I mean, we could look at all the reasons why, but in actuality, what I felt spiritually was like, I just got shoved down by like this whole toxic wave of energy that was just trying to get through me somehow. And it just needed to get through. And I saw the roses and I couldn't get there. I literally fell on my kneecap and it broke in half, and I felt it and I heard it. And I just lay on the Costco floor. And, I think about how lucky I was that I wasn't off in the Andes Mountains, which I have been climbing around, these really uneven terrain when that happens, right? How would they get to me? In this case, I was at Costco. The ambulance took 10 minutes to get there. I screamed bloody hell when they put me on the stretcher.
Oh, I bet. Oh,
Oh my God, I've never broken a bone before. And then we got to the hospital in 10 minutes and I was on morphine. So like it really, honestly, within 30 minutes, I was on morphine and I could feel nothing. So I feel like I was so fortunate in how it happened. But yeah, it was kind of like I was impatient. I was in my core wound of impatience. And I was like, let's just get this done and pushing past my limitations. And that's kind of like the pattern, it's like, I'm strong enough, I'll just do it.
right.
And, but it's time for us to realize that, we're past the age of the guru. We're past the age of like one person. This is the other thing. We're past the age of blaming the leader. I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh my
If you're
God.
gonna
Exactly.
say-
Stop waiting for the
If you're going
Messiah
to say everyone's
messenger.
equal, then you don't also simultaneously get to say that there's a leader you can point a finger at and blame. Like, quit the
The
crap.
self-responsibility
You're
and
either gonna-
accountability. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so that the
Please.
Pluto and Aquarius. Yeah, everybody else's fall. And what it's like I say that's like cosmic mother father. It goes back to that original separation. Gosh, we have it in Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy. We're always waiting, and and usually it's like a granny type, grandpa or granny or somebody. Oh, I can feel safe now. I just give them all the responsibility, and they're going to take care of everything.
Right.
Right.
And so people are in this, and this is this community that I was involved in, consider themselves to be very light and love and very high vibrational and practicing the 4 agreements. So they're saying that they're doing all those things. But what I witnessed also was like the mask just got ripped off. Like it was just like, we are that as long as you're being that. But if you have a moment of being human, like you have a breakdown, like you're overwhelmed and you just need to exit the space or you just need to rest, like there's no tolerance for that. And it was shocking to me. And I thought to myself, where am I also doing that? Like, where am I having no tolerance for my humanity, for my needs, for the fact that this human being experiences anger, this human being experiences grief, experiences frustration and resentment? I mean, that's part of being human. And if I don't leave space to witness myself in that and to hold myself in that and to embrace that as part of the human experience, I mean, we're talking Rumi, the guest house. Embrace every emotion as it comes through your life. It is a guest from beyond and it has a message for you. We really need to embrace the totality of experience. And I see so many people just kind of, if it's not love and light, I'm out. Like if you can't come into, you have to come in, quote, high vibrationally. Well, maybe that was the highest vibration I could do. I literally had a 1-minute bubble that set this whole thing off where I said, I'm really tired and I need to take a break. And it was like, you didn't say that correctly. You didn't express yourself correctly. You weren't high. You were shocking us because we've never seen that side of you. Yeah. And it's like, well, maybe I should show that side of me more often. And that way people won't be surprised,
well, it's true. What people don't realize is the high vibration is the unobstructed view. And so if it's a fear or anxiety, whatever the human emotion that we experience here, high vibration doesn't mean that you don't experience that or block that. You embrace it and you process or work through it or do whatever, or just listen or just experience it and know that that's not just you. That's part of, I just had this conversation with someone last week, and I was talking about, and I'm glad you're bringing this up, Kerri, because all of this has to get fettered out because it's blocking, quote unquote, people's paths, whether spirit, soul, being a healer, a teacher, and because all those people are having these experiences behind the scenes. At one point I did a lot of, when I was doing more public speaking or I was kind of helping out, I met so many very, very well-known, quote unquote, with quote unquote best-selling books and big following. Behind the scenes, I'm like, oh, you need to do 5-step emotional clearing process. You need to do
Well,
your inner child work. You need to
yeah.
do projection perception. They were
Mhm.
so, even this one teacher who kept having these affairs, he and his brother, and then one of my students came to me and, they'd had, it was just, I don't want to get totally into it, but it was just something very, and I'm like, okay, do that, but just don't then preach to me about finding the love of your life and living consciously in relationship. I mean, just don't
Just
talk
be a
about,
human.
yeah,
Yeah.
just don't do that talk, do another one. But I brought something up because I was like, and I'm not, again, what people do, people have their path, but if you're leading a group of that type and coming out with all these pearls of wisdom and etc., and you're having, to me, in my mind, multiple over the affairs and behind the scene. And so I'd ask somebody about it, and I said, well, now I've been hearing this feedback from some people, and that he's done this and this with certain women, and they're young women and they're just new on the path. And they said, well, everyone has something they're trying to heal. And I said, I know, but years of the same thing of this nature and magnitude, I go, at some
Well, it's
point,
kind of like you wouldn't necessarily claim to be someone who could help somebody heal addiction to alcohol if you hadn't actually done that yourself.
yeah, and
But,
move through it. And so
yeah.
I feel like it's this kind of, now you have to say everything. I don't think it's about that. I don't think it's like, oh, I did this disclosure, but it's this setting up of this narrative that if you get a cold, oh, they're not very high vibrational, or did you see they're not, God is good always, don't have a thought, or don't have a bad mood, or, oh, why aren't you
Well, I mean,
inspired?
just the assumption that if you were being, quote, good, then these bad things wouldn't happen. That's also
Yeah,
really an old way of thinking about
yeah,
things, because actually what's going on here is that our soul is asking to embody certain frequencies, asking to lift to certain understandings. And in order to do that, you have to move through the density. And how do you move through the density? Well, you have experiences, like I had experience going through a review of my life's pattern. It's like, in 10 days reviewed my life's pattern. I was
yeah.
like, whoa,
And
that's so intense.
I also look at it because this is the place that we play all this out. And I kind of look at it, I give an example of, because it's not totally our consciousness, it's not who we are, it's what we're experiencing. And I think once I got that lesson, that this is not me, I'm experiencing this, sure, I can work and tailor things to have a better response or approach or understanding. And of course I've done, obviously over the years, because you just, when you take on this path, the deeper healing is about you and healing. But it's like if you're driving on a road and all of a sudden it's clear and all of a sudden it gets foggy or a lot of mist, you don't start saying, be angry at yourself about the mist and the fog. You go, oh, okay, I have to be more careful or mindful or drive through this in a certain way. And that's what I feel like these different states of awareness are, or consciousness. It's not our ultimate consciousness and awareness. It's something we're experiencing and or expressing as a human being, and or even a learning lesson. Sometimes the gift in it is not just for ourselves but other people, that we can then, whether be example or hold the space and just say, hey,
Well, like I
you're
said,
okay.
it was like a beautiful experience that I had been holding space for
Mm.
about 14 months. And everybody was like all
Oh,
in
that's a
love
long
with it.
time.
Yeah, it was a very long time. And that's why I'm a manifester by design. I'm not designed to hold that. I'm not a generator. I don't just like hold stuff forever. Like, I'm meant to initiate things and then have it move through quickly so that I can, other people can step in. And this wasn't working that way. And it was draining, but I didn't realize it was draining because
Were
everybody, like,
you doing more? Is that what was going on?
well, I think what was happening was that I was accepting less. Like, I wasn't holding people accountable for the things that they were supposed to be doing for the group. And I was like, just kept baking cookies, hoping that they would be inspired to do it if they just loved it enough, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Oh boy.
And
Yeah,
so,
I know that one.
that's a trap, and I had done that throughout my life. Like, it's, it's really that conflict diplomacy piece is such an important gene key for the times we're entering.
Yeah.
because we're not going to see everything the same way. We're not going to understand life the same way. We are going to have different perceptions. Everybody's right at the same time and everybody's wrong at the same time. And so then we come to a group consensus or a group decision. How do we do that? Well, we've got to factor in everyone's perspective. But in order to do that, you have to be able to state what your perspective is and prioritize it, and that's the piece where, because because of early childhood trauma and all that kind of stuff, I just got programmed to look out into the world to assess my safety based on my context, and then, work to try to make my context safe, right? Instead of like looking inside myself to create safety. And this is what Sachamama helps us with. She helps us to get into our bodies. She helps us to get down deep into the soil, deep into Mama Earth's nurturing. She helps us to sink our roots deep in and open up our Kundalini energy. She helps us to release layers of conditioning and help us to see that so that we can be inner guided, right? Inner guided from our inner medicine rather than from the context, and be okay if you're not accepted, if you don't belong, if the beautiful party ends. It's okay if it ends. And that's kind of where they were so upset, because they were like, I can't believe this thing is over. And I did get ruthless at the end, because I have a little bit of ruthlessness in me, when I finally see the lay of the land. And I took a ruthless action. I released everything from this prayer portal, and everyone was in so much shock. Like, how do we move forward? And well, isn't that what's happening right now? Yeah. Everything is being released, you guys. Like, it seems ruthless, and it is.
It is.
Everything is being released, and it's a blank slate on purpose so we can create something new. That's an opportunity.
And go where there's really the true alignment or attunement. And I don't mean everything's always easy, but that is the call of, where are you really not only needed and wanted, but where are you meant to thrive? Where are you feeling that pull, that call, and gathering with those that are. And, I have found too, and one of the things I had to look at a long time ago is like, if I am, which I love, I'm like you, I love helping people, and I, launching people or helping people, whether I work with them, individually as clients or students or mentees or whatever, or my team. But then sometimes, and I think we're going to be doing more and more of this, I think, especially into the next, for sure, starting next year. A lot of us will be doing it next year, but I'll say next 3 years, is really evaluating our energy, where we're, like you said, putting too much energy, and just pulling it back just a little bit, and less, I call it psychic micromanaging, because it's not just mental, emotional. It's like just holding that energy, that pulse, and that person's tapped into that, and you're kind of supporting through that, and letting people get comfortable with the space, their own space, or not knowing. I realized, well, I have to get comfortable with that. I go into my becoming and what I don't yet know and foster that. Other people can do that too. I can pull in my energy psychically. And I do feel that this is happening because not just so much going to be going on in the outer world, the uncertainty and chaos and on and on and on and on, disruptions, but because at our very nature of our soul, in that connecting into our design more. And by the way, it shows us in the human design, because I've got that right angle of the phoenix and that whole transparency. Yeah. So I've already kind of been living this out, and now I'm like, oh my God, I'm loving this. But because, and I know you know this, Kerri, but I just want people to get this, because I know it sounds like a little, maybe rose-colored glasses, but I'm very practical also. A lot of earth in my chart, and being counselor, shamanically trained, it's earth. But believe it or not, we're going to have more inspiration, more energy, more good ideas. We are lightening up in the overdensity. We are. So we're not going to want to have what I call people around that put pebbles in their, pockets, or boulders, and that was my thing, like walking on the hike, take the pebbles out, let go of the boulder, or no, I'll carry the boulder.
Yeah, I'm not
for
carrying
you.
anybody's boulders. No,
No,
thanks.
no. So that, by the way, it can become more fun. There can be more talking, socializing, creating something. Even if you have to roll up your sleeves, like, oh my God, I got to really do this now. We got to do this together as a group or community, or I got to do this. But it can be, it's like moving and you have your friends come over and help you, then you have food and stuff. And that is there. That is a reality that we are meant to tap into and meant to experience, but which means that we can't be doing the, boulder carrying.
Yeah, and it's not just that, but it's like you were hinting at this earlier, is as space holders, as facilitators, as guides, like our role is really to help people step into their own power.
Yeah.
And so we got to really, I'm looking at myself like, okay, Kerri, really look at the places where I get some kick, out of being revered, right? And I get some kick out of being a space holder and creating all this nurturing environment, which I'm good at. It's, I have a lifetime of training in that and I'm good at it and it's my design. But at some level, there's also just people being able to be comfortable in their own skin and being really mindful of the connections that we're holding with others so that there's enough connection they can feel safe with themselves. They know you're right there, but you're not leaning on you. And there's such a fine line there, such a fine line, because if then it becomes codependent. In this case, there was a one particular person that was very codependently connected, and I realized it all got revealed during this experience. And I was like, wow, I didn't even see that. So talk about rose-colored glasses, I can just think everything's fine. And so really that discernment we talked about at the beginning, like practicing that discernment, really discerning things, the energetics requires us to slow down and really feel and take a look at things more carefully so that we're making sure that we are not overstepping any lines that would disempower the person, right? Because they might want that. They want a mommy and a daddy to help them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the old model. And
That's
so
what I was just going to say.
give them that. We can't
if I
give them that.
may, that, and again, I think it's important people listening to kind of understand and see if this resonates. What you're going through individually is a collective shift. We're shifting patterns, Egyptian, Roman, Babylonian, Sumerian, Atlantis, Lemuria. These are patterns that have been, they're not the pattern of the soul, but they've been these human patterns that kind of get along and, fabricated or conditioned response patterns. So yes, we were taught, almost every religion, and some of them still do it now, and even spiritual group, of the martyr. This is what we're shifting, is that martyr, victim, martyr, the invader, dominator. There's a winner and a loser. There's give more. Well, you have a lot to give more. Even if you're tired, you give more, have more, do more, or you help them out more. And so it did create this kind of imbalance where some people didn't have to learn to stretch and become more resilient or, move into that creative solutions, because there was always somebody there and you're trained, if you have more, no more, you can do it. And so that became the way to show up, which is definitely not happening in the new paradigm. That's like,
no, everybody has to stand up on their own 2 feet.
Yeah.
There's definitely people with more wisdom, because if you've been a soul that has really applied yourself and you've learned a lot of lessons and you really dug into growth lifetimes and you did that, then your reservoir of knowledge is more vast than someone who's kind of lazed about and didn't do that. But still, everybody has to stand up on their own 2 feet. And it's so interesting. I've never broken a bone before, and here I am, like figuring out how to use my leg again, how to bend my knee again, I feel like it's a good metaphor for like learning how to work with my feminine again, learning how to have good boundaries, learning how to support her, learning how to not overgive, learning how to discern the right places to put my energy and the right ways to place my energy. And I feel like these are lessons that, are ripe. They're up for all of us. Like you said, the martyr, the mother that's expected to be the martyr. I mean, that's a whole archetype we didn't even talk about. But that's definitely all involved with this. Every single mother can say, they expect me to be perfect. They expect me to constantly give and constantly be available. And what about my needs? And then if I ask for my needs, I'm selfish.
Yeah.
And, so we're breaking that because, mothers
we
need
have to do it individually. There's no, we don't do it as, it first starts as an individual and then goes into, the collective. But one of my teachers years ago and said something, and I'm like, okay, this made so much sense. It was actually Dr. Hahn. People heard me talk about him from one of my hypnotherapy clinical. He said, though, what everyone has their own higher self also, and what makes you think that you have to be the one to help. And that was a couple things. And then also that, which I do see this in myself, and then obviously with people I work with, that a lot of times these traits are the part of the pattern that we're shifting or healing from, or editing, however you want to look at it. It is a really good trait or a gift, a talent, an ability. It's just taken too far, and there's an imbalance. And I don't know about you, but I see over the years within myself, and I see even now more in the collective, that's starting there's a course correction. We have to bring balance. So if you're over giving, you need to learn to give less, or overextending, you need to extend less. Those that, aren't extending enough, they have their journey of learning to extend or reach out. That's why I think the guides say also, like when people call into the live stream, or they do a post, or they reach out, that's extending out. That's empowering yourself, instead of holding back and going, well, what do I have to say? Well, you got a lot to say, because you've got a lot, because you're here. You've gone this far. There's some things,
Yeah,
so
you're here on the planet at this time. There's no
right?
mistake there.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. It's like sometimes I'll look at that and I'll go, okay, this is really great. Now, do you need to, is it appropriate? Is it right relationship to use this gift now? Or you already did 25% of that gift and there's a big old space still there. Do you need to fill it more and put another 25 or 50%? Or can you just allow the space and let whatever happens with that person or that situation? So I kind of look at it that way. I honor my gifts, but I know sometimes, oh, that's a role that you got really good at. You got a lot of goodies from that. And so you don't need to stay stuck in that,
Yeah, and we don't. But we need to I think discernment, again, is seems like the really powerful tool for this time, and the 4 agreements, of course, but it's just going to be a lot of discernment. It's going to be messy. I feel like we're untangling ourselves. So there's going to be some, discomfort with letting go of old paradigms that we become comfortable with that give us a sense of constancy or validation, and letting go of those things and being willing to embrace a new way of being that is unfamiliar, yet may have its own hidden gifts. And, it's going to be really interesting to see how it all rolls out. I've seen a little bit of information about this 31 Atlas. I haven't really dove really deep into it. So it was nice to hear you talk about it at the beginning. But I think that Sachamama still has 2 months with us. We've got December, we've got January before it flips into the new Chinese New Year. So we have 2 more months with the Year of the Snake, and so there's an opportunity.
What do we need to do with that 2 months? What is that kind of a good?
I think a life review. I mean, honestly, like this year has shown us what we need to let go of, and whether or not we wanted to see it or not, it is right there. So I would say doing some journaling, really looking at what you see in your life that has come up for you that now is not in right relationship. You might not know what should replace it, but you don't need to know that. You can just know, like, oh, the old way of doing things I now know does not work for me. And to be really ruthlessly honest with yourself, like extremely ruthlessly honest about what does not work any longer and make a list of all those things and courageously claim it. You can write it all out. You can put it in the fire. I mean, of course, I recommend people get shamanic healing sessions because that's what I do. But I do have some packages right now to help that, support that with some nice discounts. But, I feel like, complete it out. It's like finish strong. I used to run marathons and half marathons, and the whole thing was you could get through, 20 miles, right? But you got the last 6.5 miles is the actual marathon. And it was finish strong. Don't finish weak. Don't like slide over the finish line like a slug. Like finish strong. It has been a tough year. It has been a marathon. It has been very difficult, but we can dig deeper inside, love on ourselves, really take this opportunity to be very aware of the things that happened this year that rubbed us the wrong way, that we know we have to let go of, and just choose to make that list, choose to commit to make the change, and get support from Michele, or if you want to get some support from me, shamanic healing,
Do
and
it all.
those things.
I
You know what
say
I'm
do
like? Let that shit go, literally.
Yeah, do it all. I always say just part of the journey sometimes is tried and true, doing the same thing that works, and you've built up a rapport and connection. And then it's also good, I think, to try something new, read something new, do something new, or go back to something, because sometimes getting new information in can be very powerful, or just the same information but in a different way. Sometimes you hear something in a different way.
And it might not be throw the baby out with the bathwater. It might just be like if there's something in your relationship that now doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean the whole relationship has to change, but it does mean you need to speak to that thing and start working towards shifting it, So you have to, at the very least, write it down, claim it, give it to the fire, let the universe come through and say, okay, that she's willing to work on this change, and then let things unfold. I think you have to be very courageous with claiming those things that are not working and that you want to change. Maybe you want to change your career, right? So whatever it is, you've got to just step out, step up and step out.
And I find at this time there's such a guidance, because this part of the path, there might be perceived missing steps, which again, the higher self, you have to go within. That you're talking about, that going within to get the guidance, and then look without, because you'll see the signs, the nudges, or that idea that keeps coming back around. Oh, I should do that, or I feel like doing this, because this time, this great transition, not just in the earth or in the world, but with us individually, we are being guided to and through a new process that's beyond strategic planning. It's based on design. It's based on the soul design.
This is like the end of the 5-year and 10-year business plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank goodness. I hated those anyway.
Exactly. Now, Kerri, we touched a bit on the year of the snake. Do you have any idea of what's coming next? Just to touch on it, maybe I'll have you come back and talk about the horse. I don't know if you know anything about it.
Yeah, the new one is the horse. The fire horse.
Fire.
I know about fire. We're fire a lot. So my feeling is it's rapid transformation. It's, all systems go. Funny enough, my husband, we both went through the Power Path training program, and my ally was the red fox, but my husband's was wild horse. And so I have a feeling that Akeem has a lot of, pretty good insights into wild horse and what the horse has to offer us. But if we look at it, it's got a wild nature. It loves to run. It likes to be free. And, and I feel like that is, we're coming out of this really kind of dark, dismal year. If you've been paying attention and looking at politics or any of that, it's like, ooh, this is so dark and toxic. We're coming out of all of this really dark, tangled stuff. And I feel like the desire for freedom, the desire to be wild, that is all, going to be present for us in 2026. And it could create some more chaos, right? Because then anytime you bring in fire, it's going to create some wild movement and some chaos. So that means it makes it even more important to create your safety from within.
Yeah.
So those tools about working with Sachamama to get your grounding, to get your rooting, to really tap into who you are and your essence, and to not be afraid to let go of those, shed those old skins, those things that gave you identity up until now, or some sense of constancy or, normalcy, like releasing all that and getting really comfortable with being free, with just being able to move.
You're reminding me of something. Some months back, a client had said to me, "Well, now what am I going to do for my security? This is tight." And I said, "Within." And I think that's the big one of the lessons and gifts for all of us is, what is that security within, that inner connection, the higher self, the guidance that no matter how uncertain or scary or what's going on, what's my practice to connect in and feel that I can call in grace, I can call in, energetic support, spirit support, God consciousness support, friends and family, all of that as well, and tools and all that. But there is something very powerful when you're going through something challenging or difficult or even traumatic, where you can still tap into the interconnectedness. You can still feel yourself kind of in the web and weave, all that is. And it's like, okay, it's kind of meant to happen.
And you can't be tied to other people's perspectives either for your sense of safety. And that's why, we're really being guided to come within and connect with our soul. Our soul has a plan. It has an architecture. It has a way forward, and it's not necessarily going to be liked by everybody that's close to us. But you can't just not do it, because that's like betraying yourself. So this is where I just hope that we all get more resilient, and we all decide to kind of loosen up those cords around other people, that we use for security. We kind of let them go, and we put those into the ground.
Yeah, Kerri, I think there's a whole group of us that are doing that. And by the way, in February, my channeling with the guides, their word was resiliency.
Yeah.
Share with people how to be more resilient. Teach the intuition was a big piece of heart and trusting their own inner guide, and that's come through since.
And also not having so much identity wrapped up in like your stocks or your retirement account or your money or your job or your status or your position. Like, those things are transient. We've made them permanent in this weird human design, thing that we've created, the system, but they're really just transient things. They're just meant to be, little way stations you go through to learn things, and then you move on. So I think that those of us who have been on this path for a long time, we've already confronted our money issues. We're kind of like, okay, we know my source of security is not money. My source of security is spirit, is my soul. And then as I'm aligned to that, then money will show up. But it's not like I'm first tethering to money. And I think that's another huge shift that people are about to go through is, because a lot of people have externalized their sense of security into their bank account.
Yeah.
And then as that changes, it's going to be kind of a rude awakening.
Yeah. And by the way, that's such a good point, because the fact in the new emerging consciousness that's coming through, and we're creating this new paradigm based on that, is not based on status, anymore. It's in fact, it shows in the astrology that the focus will be more on relationships and experiences, not ownership and consumption, more on what are you creating, a lot to do with creation and collaboration, but experiences, individual and shared experiences. And so we're coming out of this consumption, or I am because I own this, or I have this.
Thank goodness.
I know.
Maybe more people will want to do shamanic journey with me. That would be awesome. Talk about experiences.
I think that's, and I know this. I know this is a shamanic practitioner and healer and a bereavement counselor, and I'm sure you've done similar work. every person I have ever worked with, and I know this kind of sounds trite because but they never talk about the money or what they have when they're crossing over, or if I'm working with them a long period of time and they have a an illness or condition that, okay, we got a year, we got 6 months, we got 3 months, we got a month, and then working with them as they're crossing over. Even with the life review, it's all about connecting. And so Kerri, I'm wondering, I think in this movement, and maybe you can even bring in from a human design point of view or keys, part of the freeing up is to have less stuff, less junk, less consuming, less I am what I have, I am what I own. This conditioning. It was very conditioned. I mean, just think about kings and queens, where we came from, all this just amassing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exactly that. And it's funny because one of the experiences I had in the last couple months was somebody being like opening my car door and it like gently tapping their rearview mirror on the side. And they like literally had to rush over and make sure there was no marks on it.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm just waiting patiently for you to convince yourself that it's okay.
Yeah, right.
Literally,
it's a little tap.
Nothing
had
here.
That back in the we've had a little tap back in the day.
Tap,
the car door touches the other one.
There's, people have invested way too much of their energy inside their belongings, and I think that is also going to change. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think we're on the verge of like an entirely new paradigm. And everyone's going to come along as they are ready, right? And so some people will maybe not come along right away. They might hang on nails on a chalkboard for a while. And that's okay too. Like I heard you talking earlier about what do you do with people who aren't really coming along? And it's like, well, they don't have to. I mean, I would say just accept them for who they are. There's actually this really good series that I think gives some good insight into this. It's called Pluribus. It just came out on, I don't know if it's on Apple TV or something like that, Pluribus. But the cool thing about it that it's talking about is like that everybody on the planet had this like awakening where they became one consciousness. And so like even like a teenage kid knows how to like perform surgery because like he's just tapped into all of the collective human wisdom, except for 11 people that remained themselves. Mm. And it talks about the experience of this one woman who remained herself and like the things that she's facing. And she's like really uncomfortable with this whole everybody is awakened in one kind of thing. So I think that's it's a lot of food for thought in there about maybe really appreciate your individuality. Maybe appreciate everyone else's opportunity to have an individual experience and stop trying to force everybody to, come along.
Yeah. I think too, when you don't overly identify, I guess you could say, with the other, what's outside or the other person as your one identity, because you're connecting more from the soul and your soul security, it's easier to do that. It kind of brings to mind over the years some couples that I have worked with, and sometimes one will they'll want to change, and these people have been 7, 10, 8 years, 20 years, and they're like, no, I don't know if I want to be a lawyer anymore. I'm thinking about doing it. And then one of them, I won't say, oh no, how can they do that? We got this, we got that, and my lifestyle, it's going to change. What are we going to do? And I'm like, well, you got to work together, and you got to say, okay, if I want to do this, how can we do this? I go, because some people might want to do something else.
Well, see it as an adventure. That's what I'm saying. It's like, there's like a new chapter opening in your relationship, and it's an adventure to see how you're going to navigate it together with grace and love. And and that both of you will grow through the experience, and you'll learn new things about yourselves and each other. And, my husband didn't choose to support me through. It just happened, right?
Yeah.
But it's showing us new things about our relationship, new things about ourselves, each other. and it's helping us to grow closer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you look at that, like it can be an adventure, and that you are already, secure, you have a level of security within yourself, then it's easier to allow for these things, right? It's easier to say, well, how can we do this, or let's figure out the how instead of yes or no. You kind of get out of that over binary, thinking, and I think that it's itself, if I may say so, I think is freedom as well.
I just released an episode on my show, on Soul Nectar Show, with Erica Bacchus, who wrote a book about promise kept. And the whole thing was she helped her husband of 41 years to terminate his life because he had onset dementia. And, at this point, there's no real cure for dementia. Right. We know how it all ends up. And he didn't want to end up drooling, in a nursing home. And so it was his choice. And he asked her several times, like, are you okay with this? And she's like, it's not up to me. It's up to you. And imagine the absolute strength of love, the unconditional love that she had in order to tell him it's your choice and it's your life and it's your choice alone. Because she said, if I had told him I didn't want him to do it, he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
And that would be on me. It's a beautiful interview, and it's a beautiful book. I recommend anyone to look at it. But that's the ultimate sacrifice, right? Your partner of 41 years is going to be gone, and you're going to help him do it. She took him to Switzerland to a center that does this. But I mean, then the impact to her life afterwards, right, is that she's got to live without her sacred partner. And so she's finding purpose in the aftermath. But I look at that relationship and I look at her devotion to love, and I see someone who is practicing what we are all being called up to, which is let go of your attachments. Yeah. This is your person, but they have their own life.
Yeah, beautiful. What high level of actual love and compassion. Kerri, we have Bailey is joining us on the line. Hi, Bailey. Welcome. You're on with Kerri Hummingbird.
Hello. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah. I really love what both of you are talking about. It just feels so calm and smooth, and I could even hear it in my voice right now. There's like things I've been thinking about doing that for fun and just expressing myself and being myself and possibly putting it online, or publishing it. And, there's like this fear that the fear is that, oh no, I won't be accepted, or what if, I just have all these what ifs, and I know it's coming from fear, but it really is stopping me. Honey always wants to say hello when we're on the phone.
Oh, hi. I know. Hello, honey. Hello.
Hi. So, and I guess the spell that I'm using right now is that if it's exciting and scary, then go ahead and do it. If it's not gonna hurt anyone, keep your side of the street clean. And then if it's scary and bad for other people and yourself, I'm trying to say no to that. I've had some habits that I've done away with, and they were really hard to get rid of, but it was really worth it. Mm-hmm. But then there is that self-worth fear. And I know that you told me to do the 5-step emotional clearing. That was really helpful. I had a little heaviness left in my legs. It was like sand coming down me. And there's a little bit left there, and I know it's old stuff, and I feel it. It's just the body knows.
I'll share something, and then if Kerri has anything she'd like to share, a couple things. One, good that you're doing that. I would say, I think one of the things that's so powerful, and again, Kerri and I have been talking about, I did at the beginning, and now, we both seem to be kind of realizing and saying the same thing, is this, in a sense, to kind of encapsulate it, this idea of perfectionism, like when I'm healed, when I'm done, when I'm this weight, when I'm this tall, when I finish this, when I, you know, and spirituality, it's kind of looked at like that. You're like, oh, they're so this, you know, the way up there, the yoga person that's, you know, putting their legs all around and wearing white and it's vegan. Oh, I should do that. I should do. So I think, and I love this kind of the tapping on my, because for the receptive side, the left side of the body, right, where the it's actually, a client told me that is a acupuncture. It's the meridian line that goes right to the brain, and you can actually do the tap on the temporal. It's called the temporal tap. Yeah, right above the ear where the temporal, what is it, lobe is, and then also right on the wrist is, even though, you know, even though I'm not ready or I'm scared, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to throw. So just that kind of sending that message. And it's also through movement. So it's like you're tapping it in, you know, especially with the temporal. You could do both hands on either side of the temple. That's one thing. And something that I have done sometimes, and sometimes people know I'm doing it, friends of mine, and sometimes they don't know I'm doing it, you know, colleagues. Sometimes I ask them, and sometimes if I know I'm going to want to do something, I'm going to do something, even posting or starting something new. There's certain people I will talk to, or I psychically pull them in. It always happens where they call at the right time, and then I feel inspired, or I have some or they say something like, oh, Michele, you really should do this and this and this. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I've been thinking about. So sometimes I do it that way. And then other times I actually say, you know, I don't know, I'm thinking about I don't know, I'm a little fearful or reticent. Oh no, I'll be there. And sometimes we've even been, you know, right at the same time on the phone. Okay, Michele, you need to press the button now. Press post. Come on, you're doing it.
That's okay. A great idea.
Yeah, because we can't always do stuff, you know, on our own. And like I said, you can actually verbally ask people that you really trust. But once you kind of get in the groove of it, connected through your higher self will direct the people, the phone call, the sign, the symbol right to you. So it's exactly what you need to do. I mean, there's so many times I've been working on something. Oh, I don't know if I should put it out there. I don't know if I should do that. And then I get a call or a text and we're talking. Michele, why aren't you doing that? Why you said something the other day. Why you need to post that? You need to do. Really? Should I? Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would suggest, because I don't think we got a human side with fear and doubt and whatever, and every new level is going to trigger that to some degree, no matter how conscious, awake, aware. That's what I would suggest. I don't know, Kerri, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Bailey. I would say one way that you can move through this more smoothly is to let go of attachment to good outcomes. Like, you know, like I want good outcomes. And so you're assessing what your soul is asking you to do based on whether you think there's going to be a good outcome. Instead of just taking a journey and seeing what happens with curiosity, because there might not be a good outcome, might be a terrible outcome, but you'll learn from it so much that actually it becomes good in the end, because then from the lessons that you learn from that, you really step forward into a new empowered space. So I think like that's number one, is to really do that, you know, just say, you know what, whatever happens, I'm going to learn from it, and therefore it's all good.
I love that.
You know, instead of like wanting things to be a certain way.
Oh my gosh, that's how the idea started too, was like, this is what helps me. And it's like somatic, like moving, being silly, getting my body going when I'm feeling my worst.
Yeah. And you know, that curiosity, the spirit of play, is a very high vibrational frequency. We're not in the either or duality or extremes of the polarity. We're in that undifferentiated energy when you're getting inspired. I love that. I love what you said about not looking at outcomes. That really that's like being the editor and the creator at the same time. It's like that cuts your inspiration right? Your creative, the juice.
It traps up energy.
Yeah.
And but then the other thing is like you're getting ready to publish a book or something, and I think it's good to, you can't really control the outcome. That's the thing I just said. Don't try to control the outcome.
Right.
But you could do some inner exploration. Like my first book that I released, back in 2012 or something, or maybe 2014. It's called Awakening to Me. And it tells the really raw, transparent story of my awakening out of my previous life and the kind of sexual revolution I went through and my divorce and a lot of really transparent things. And I was told to write that book as I went along. So I was guided by, that was my first really strong connection with my soul. My soul said, you're going to chart the course out of madness. So write this book, every day, write in this book the journey that you're on until it's complete, and you'll know when it's complete. And I literally finished it, and then we published it. And then the very next day I saw that there was a competition, book competition, and I entered and I got best category for that book. But it kind of has lain dormant. Like not that many people read that book. And I think it has a lot to do with there's aspects of me that were not in a self-acceptance of the journey that I was on. They were not in self-acceptance of the diagnoses that I talk about in that book that I had received, and stepping into my personal power and loving myself fully. There's just parts of me that were really scared that people would judge me. And and so I don't know if you've been listening for very long, but like I had some really intense things happen right about the 10 days before November 20th. And one of the things that happened simultaneously with all of those intense things, it was like a massive life review of all these patterns I used to have in my life. And one of the things that happened was that some book club reached out to me and asked if I would like feature my Awakening to Me book in their book club.
Oh my gosh.
So that's also in the mix, and I was literally doing some parts work. So I think, inner parts work is really helpful. And there was a part of me that I asked,
love that part. Inner parts processing.
Right.
So
like,
powerful.
do you want to release this book? And she's like, no, I don't want anybody to know this book. And it was the same part that was like in front of the firing squad in that community that I was talking about. And that same one that was like receiving all these projectiles of blame and all of this stuff. And well, no, that's overwhelming for that aspect of me. And so what I was able to do is kind of work with that aspect and say, okay, I'm going to create a curtain, like a stage, like a big old red velvet stage curtain. And you're going to stand behind the stage curtain and you're going to peer out through the crack if you want. It's totally fine. But you're not going to come out on stage.
Yeah.
Because my soul has got this. And it's too much for this little aspect of me to take all that projection. It's too much. And so I've created this little curtain now where that aspect of me can be present, but behind the curtain, while my soul really leads the way, because that book was purposeful. It has purpose, it has meaning, and it has an important part of my soul's curriculum. And so, yeah, I am going to do the book club thing. It's taken me a few weeks to decide about it and to work through, really honoring these inner aspects of me that felt very insecure about being judged and blamed and all shamed and all that kind of stuff by more people seeing that book. And so, but a lot of energy's gone into keeping it hidden as well. So even though it was out there on Amazon, it was still hidden, so you can release things and have it be like nobody ever sees it. But if you really want someone to see it, you've got to do the inner parts work.
Yeah. Very, very true.
I love that so much, you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Try do it. And what we've suggested, if any of it resonates, keep doing that projection, perception, the 5-step, keep doing your clearing, but move out into your expression. And then if you do try any of this, let us know.
I want to hear back.
Yeah.
No, I want to. I've been wanting to. It's only fear holding me back, and it's the playful side of me. And the ego's like, no, it's not. It's going to be weird. But like my soul is like, yes, do it.
Fear may never totally go away. Sometimes Sometimes it does, sometimes it lessens, sometimes it does just in the beginning of something.
And sometimes fear is really good for rose-colored glasses. Like if you see the life through rose-colored glasses, fear comes along and says, hey, wait a second, be discerning, be skeptical.
Yeah, it's important. I had Bailey, I was, God, it's so funny. I was talking to someone about this like a couple days ago about fear and I was reminded of a client of mine who's a very A-list actor, celebrity, household name. You would know this person. They started doing, they did something on Broadway and they loved doing that in between films. And we were talking and I said, oh my God, I could never do that. I'd probably forget my lines. I do that. And I'd be scared to get up there. I've done a little low key theater way back in the day, and this person said, oh yeah, I have stage fright. I said, what? And they said, oh yeah. Every time. And I go, I'm scared I'm going to forget my lines. And I go, have you ever forgotten your line? That would just do me in. And they said, no, never. It just lasts a minute. It lasts a minute. I go on there. I not only remember my lines, but the other actors' lines. And another one told me every time they would throw up right before they went on stage. And I'm like, okay. But they said, it's a natural component. You learn how to channel it. They don't have that when they do film, but they said there's something about that, And so I don't know. I just think we all find our way. We all have a little something, I remember years ago, I was doing a television pilot and I had to do readings, which I love, live readings in front of an audience. And before I was in the green room and all of a sudden I started getting so panicked and my voice got quibbly and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here, Michele? You got to go out there. You got to do this. I shifted into my higher self. I actually did my own 5-step emotional clearing process. I did that. I also called a friend in the middle while I was waiting back there with in the green room. Mm. And I was a little shaky in the beginning. You could tell. And actually I think a copy of this is on Soul Insights and Tarot in one of the playlists. And you can hear in the beginning when I'm doing the reading, my voice was a little, quibbly or whatever. But then it went away. And also that's because, okay, I haven't done tons of that doing live readings. I love it. Mm. I've done it in person, but not in front of a TV camera, producers, executive, a studio audience and picking people in the audience and somebody coming up and da-da-da-da. So I think part of it too is a lot of times as we get more used to something and find our flow in it, we have less fear to no fear. But a new level, there's going to be fear. So I think it's, how do I do it? Just knowing, not trying to get rid of the fear before I do it, because then we may never do it. So that might be part of your focus, is just get the support to do. Because by the way, most people, myself included, but most people I've worked with that have had fear of something, once they start doing it, it's like, I'm like, boy, can't shut you up now. You're doing this. You're over here. You wrote this book. You did that. They're like, they're like, oh yeah, I love it. Yeah. Okay. So I think it's just the initial, I don't know, Kerri, what would you say? It's just something initially sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think just, you can, like, we're working with Serpent this year. So just work with Serpent to get your roots down deep into Mother Earth. Take those 3 nice deep cleansing breaths, really connect in with your heart and your soul and feel the support of your ancestors in your bones. And then really ask yourself, what do I want? Like, what would light me up? What would open me up? What would make me have a new experience that would really expand me? And then just go with it. And don't try to be perfect the first time out. Like, just be messy. Let yourself.
I think that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah. And imperfect. And then you're going to have the best time if you have no expectations.
No expectations.
Yeah. That's what definitely helps me, is to get out of the perfection that, okay, don't focus on the outcome. You just want to do this because you want to create, you want to share, just whatever it is, just do it, whatever the expression is.
Just to have the experience.
Yeah. I think that kind of reframe can be very, very, powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Because, like, what is the harm in doing something that's worked for me and sharing that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to re-listen to this.
Oh, thank you, Bailey. Thanks for connecting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks for sharing your voice. I love it.
You inspired me. I was
Yeah.
getting too nervous, and I'm like, just call in.
Oh, that's great. Oh, Kerri, we'll have to come back. I've loved this conversation. I've loved what you have shared. Nice little.
We make a good team.
So yeah, we do. We'll have to do it again. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, this has been fun. I've in fact, what did you say? Just do it without the outcome. I needed to hear that. So that's a good one. Because I think sometimes you start out that way. I know sometimes I do, and then I'm making it a thing, and now I'm looking at the outcome because it's become a thing, and I got to get out of the thing and just be in the
no
the
expectation.
creative it. Yeah,
I would say it was really surprising to me. I got like 2 book clubs reached out to me. One of them wanted to feature Awakening to Me, and the other one wants to feature The Second Wave. And I was like, where is this coming from? It's so weird. Like I didn't solicit this. And I was like, okay, well, it must be time to be seen. And that's when I started going into that whole dialogue with myself. Are you finally ready to be seen? Because even though I've done all this work out there and I am seen by a lot of people, I'm not really seen by as many people as I think I'm supposed to be. And I think it has to do with this fear, this fear of like the judgment and all of that. And, but the thing I really learned, and this is where I'm really going to bring this to you right now, is like how powerful my soul is to have shielded me. That book has been on Amazon this whole time. I've done all these podcasts. I've done so much speaking. I'm really out there. And yet not one negative comment has ever shown up on that book that I was so worried that everyone would judge me about.
I also think it's time in the collective. I think vibrationally, what we're talking about and these self accountability and what we've shared today, what you and I, is not that they're not new concepts, but in this field, in this realm, they haven't been embraced. They haven't been integrated. And so I think now people are individuals and collectives, whether groups and organizations, are ready. Spirituality was kind of fluffy. I would say it was like a ladies' who lunch. It was like, oh, the retreat. Yeah, it was like, oh, let's do this and have some wine and cocktails. No. But now it's a different type. So that kind of fluffy, I think people are going to be saying, okay, let's get to what really works in life, because we're not living in that place all the time. And so, so I think what you're saying, there's a very groundedness to it. And I think that it's more now in the collective, whether quote unquote wellness, health, spirituality, metaphysics, community, and or also the general collective.
And I think people are finally ready. Like they're like, I am not my diagnosis. It's like, I think they're finally ready to hear that. And that's what that book is about. That first book, Awakening to Me, is shifting out of the diagnosis. I go through my whole thing about shifting out of my victim story and my diagnosis and all that kind of stuff.
We're not what's happened to us.
Right.
So sometimes I've talked to people that have known some things I've gone through, and they're like, why, Michele, you should talk about that more. And I go, I could, but that doesn't really help. It's interesting stories, or, we could dwell on. I'd rather talk about how I got through something or what I do in my life, and people can pick up. I always say it'll come in the biography perhaps, or autobiography. But I think just people are ready now for something that is more, I don't know, grounded, where there's that account. Because the truth is, you have more freedom, and you have more freedom and also more autonomy or control with the accountability, with and understanding we're not our diagnosis, we're not our condition, we're not what's happened to us. It's an experience and an expression. It doesn't have to define us. And I think now people are ready, like, okay, show me the tools, let's talk about it. Or just being around more people that have that viewpoint, you start feeling that way. You don't limit yourself by, like you said, your diagnosis or what's happened in the past.
Stepping under the old paradigm.
Yeah, I can see. It's there now. It's more tangible. You can see it more. You can see it forming, the new paradigm now forming, the new design. Kerri, let us know again how to connect with you, so people that are listening can connect in. And
Yeah. If you want to hear Michelle's episode on Soul Nectar Show, you can find Soul Nectar Show on YouTube or iTunes or anywhere like that. All the podcast platforms, Soul Nectar Show. And my website is kerrihummingbird.com, KERRI hummingbird.com. And you'll find on there some packages of healing sessions if you're ready to shed the skin. So just reach out and let me know what you thought about the show. And yeah, you can find a list of my books on there too, if you are interested in listening or Audible or reading those books that I was mentioning. Those are all on my website as well.
Beautiful. All right, Kerri, till next time. Thanks so much for being here. And
Thank
big hug.
you.
Yeah. Take
Much
good care.
love.
Much love. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all also for being here, shining your light, sharing your insight, calling in, just sharing your voice. It amplifies, you're stepping into your power when you bring your voice in, and because your voice is part of your truth. It's a reflection. It's a radiating out or an emitting of you, not just you energetically, but the truth of you, of what you're doing, where you're going. And yeah, I really enjoyed today. So thanks, those of you that called in, those of you in the chat, thank you for being here. If you are new, I'd love if you would subscribe, share the podcast as well. It'll be edited in podcast maybe later today, next couple days for sure, but I should get it up maybe by later today or by Friday for sure. So as always, continue to shine your light and share your insights. Okay, that's so important in this part of the great soul awakening. And keep the conversation going. Share the podcast so others can join in the conversation.
I'm getting woke and staying woke. Awakenings broadcast every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. Archive shows available on iTunes. For continued awakened conversations and insights, join the Awakenings group on Facebook. And check out Michelle's blog at soulplayground.com. And keep awake.